can't say I have a super analytical approach of how I decide what games to do next. Sometimes I vary between more complex or less, or maybe science fiction versus more fantasy. Today though, I came across recently Borderlands from Eon. I actually got a pretty good copy. It's kind of hard to find out there. A game of the barbaric future. It's fantasy, but it's also based in the future too, so I guess you could say it's speculative fiction. The box is a bookshelf style game. A little bit on the thinner side than compared to other bookshelf games, but thick enough to contain all the components. The cover art is actually very nice. It's kind of reminiscent of a Conan the Barbarian kind of scene. Very well done. Cover art's by Dean Morrissey. I'd be curious to check out his other stuff. Very well done. Very intriguing. A lot of detail. Some graphics on the side here. Here's the back. It's kind of interesting. It's interesting. The back is like a 50s-ish kind of looking cartoon, which is fine in itself, but it's interesting the contrast between the cartoonish backside and the more serious front. I don't know if I think it bothers me a little bit. There's kind of quite a bit difference between the appearance of the front cover and the back cover, I guess. The back cover kind of give it more of a kind of a look like it's for younger players, in my opinion. And it's for 12 and up, so it can't handle the younger group in there. 2 to 4 players. It says average playing time 2 hours. It's possible to do group wins. Kind of showing some interaction here in the comics. As a barbarian ruler in the distant future, you live on a rugged continent of lush forests, great wild horses, and plentiful mineral deposits. These elements provide you with a basis to found a civilization. Using a combination of diplomacy, trade, and strategic defense, you can successfully build and protect your cities. In the 2-player game, an absorbing strategic battle takes place. A little more background theme here. In Borderlands, play begins with tribes occupying an isolated continent. They harvest timber, raise horses, mine coal, iron, and gold, and try to live in peace. As play progresses, the tribes trade resources to each other and develop boats, cities, and weapons. Poorly defended borders attract raids by ambitious neighbors. Diplomatic maneuvers and threats may hold off aggression for a while, but only strategic development and strong defenses will assure safety. The first player whose tribe occupies 3 cities will found a civilization and win the game. Credits: Design Development, Jack Kittredge, Pete Holika, Bill Eberly, Cover Art, Dean Morrissey, all other art, Linda Bound. As far as components, first the rule book. Eight pages, 1 page of that is advertisement. Black and white. Good mix counters. They're, one-sided. Done kind of simplistically, but it's functional. Dice. 1 die. It doesn't come with a sorting tray, but I have a GMT tray which I had to trim on the edges a little bit to make it fit, but that'll hold the components well. Here's unique tokens of various shapes. For reference, these are 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. And these are the warrior tokens. 1 type for each player, and there's 20 of each of these. Then you have your resource production sites. Forest for timber, horse breeding grounds, coal mines, iron mines, and gold mines. So it's for the forest, 3 of the horse breeding grounds, 3 coal mines, 3 iron mines, and 3 gold mines. Resource tokens, timber, horses, coal, iron, and gold. 20 each of these. Then you have your development tokens. There's 12 riverboats, 20 weapons, and 12 cities. Here's the map. It's 19 by 24. It's on like a poster paper. So it's got the different areas with boundaries and places where you can put cities, definition of the different names of different areas. You have inland waterways and you have ocean on the outside. Of course, this is land. It'd be nice if it had more color to it than just kind of white and gray. I mean, it works fine, but I think it would add a little bit to the playability if it had kind of like maybe a tannish or light greenish kind of thing going on here, but it's functional. And for 1982, I think it looks alright. Then a key of, this is a development key that shows if you have different resources, items you can develop, like for instance, 1 coal plus 1 iron is 1 weapon, 2 gold is 1 weapon, 1 iron plus 1 coal plus 1 timber plus 1 gold is 1 city, 4 gold equals 1 city, 2 timber equals 1 riverboat for the first boats developed, then 3 timber equals 1 riverboat for subsequent boats. Going through the rules here. Object. The win. Object is to be the first player to occupy 3 cities at the end of the attack phase. Optional win. For a longer game, players may agree to forbid joint wins. In this case, play continues until 1 player has 3 or more cities. Setup. Resource production sites. The round resource production sites are shuffled and placed face down to one side. Resource placement. Turns, player randomly placed resource production sites face down on the map, 1 per territory. When all have been placed, they are turned over to reveal which resources will be produced in different territories. So there's more territories than resource sites, so many of the territories won't have resource sites and will not produce resources. Player placement. Each player now selects 20 warrior tokens, same color. Rolls die to see who places first. Hero places first. Players place warrior tokens in any territory which is not already occupied by tokens as follows. First player places 1 warrior token anywhere. Then the player to the right places 1, etc. Continuing around the map until all the territories are filled. Warrior tokens are always placed left hand side of the rectangle, which is found in each territory. At the end of player placement, every territory map will have 1 warrior token in it. Important, the player who places last will be the first lead player. Unplaced warrior tokens are kept to one side of the map as reserve. So the play cycle is development, production, trade, shipment, attack. Played in cycles with 1 player remaining lead player for an entire cycle. Each cycle is made of 5 phases. Development, production, trade, shipment, attack. The development and attack phases always take place. Production, trade, and shipment are determined by roll of the die. If you're the lead player, you'll be the first to play in each phase. Then the player to your left plays, and so on. Then the next phase begins. After a complete cycle of 5 phases is over, the player to your left becomes a new lead player. The first lead player is the player who placed last during the setup. Phase 1 development. Now in the first cycle, players have not yet received resource tokens, so the development phase is skipped. By combining various types of resources, you may develop cities, weapons, and riverboats. To develop one of these, necessary tokens must be located together in 1 territory. For each development you make, simply remove the appropriate resource tokens, replace them with a development token. The development token is placed in the same territory from which the resource tokens were taken. A determination. The die is rolled. Development always takes place. The lead player goes first, making any chosen developments, followed by the player to the left, and so on. There's combinations. 1 iron plus coal becomes a weapon. 2 gold develops a weapon. 1 timber plus 1 coal, 1 iron and gold develop into a city. 4 gold develop into 1 city. 2 timber develop into 1 riverboat during the first production phase, which riverboats are built. Thereafter, 3 timber develop into 1 riverboat. Placement: always place to the development token territory from which the resource tokens were taken. Weapon: place weapon in the printed rectangle to the right of the warrior, and horse if any. 1 weapon per territory. City: place the city directly below the printed rectangle, 1 city per territory. Boat: boat is placed on the section of the river which borders the territory in which the boat was developed. The boat cannot be developed in a territory which has no river or lake border. A boat developed in a territory bordered by a lake may be placed in the lake on the shore of the developing territory instead of the bordering river. Place 1 of your reserve warrior tokens on the boat to indicate ownership. After all players have developed any combination they wish, play passes to the production phase. Phase 2, production. Production is the spontaneous appearance of the appropriate types of resources and territories containing resource production sites. Determination: the lead player rolls a die to determine if resources are produced during the cycle. If 1 through 4 is rolled, then there's production. If 5 is rolled, there is no production, and play passes to trade. If 6 is rolled, players vote to determine whether or not there will be production, with the lead voting player again who will break the tie if necessary. Placement: there is production. The lead player and then the other players in turn to the left place 1 resource token in each territory they control which has a production site in it. This force will receive a timber token, etc. Place the resource token next to the resource production site. Exception: horses are placed in the rectangle to the right of the warrior as long as there is no horse already in the rectangle. Limitations: generally, if there is already a resource token in the territory of the proper type, no new token is produced. Exception: if horse already exists in your horse breeding ground territory, you may place a new horse in any horseless territory that you occupy adjacent to the breeding ground territory, or in any horseless territory that you occupy which is connected to the breeding ground territory by a string of your territories, each adjacent to the next and each already containing a horse. Thus, you develop a herd which automatically expands out from the breeding ground territory. After every player has placed the appropriate resource tokens, Phase 3 begins. Then Phase 3, trade. Trade is the exchange of resource tokens between players who have at least 1 common border between them. Note the trade need not necessarily take place across common border, but if 2 players do not have at least 1 common border, they cannot trade at all. Determination: the lead player rolls the die to determine if trade will take place during this cycle. 1 to 4 yes, 5 no, 6 vote as described before. If there is no trade, play passes to Phase 4, shipment. Once trade is determined, all players eligible to trade may do so simultaneously. Rules of trade: you may trade as many times as you wish and in whatever amounts and types of resources tokens you wish, as long as at least 1 token is traded by you and at least 1 token is received by you during a trade. The tokens you trade may come from any territories that you occupy, and the ones you receive may go into any territories that you occupy. You do not have to trade if you don't want to. When there is a conflict as to who will place the trade tokens first, the lead player does so, and then players to the left. Some examples there. Trading like tokens is one way of moving your resources to a better location. After all players have made all the trades that they can agree to, Phase 4 begins. Phase 4, shipment. Shipment is the movement of resource tokens and or weapons from one territory you occupy to another territory you occupy. Shipment may be made by foot, by horse, or by riverboat. In the rules of this phase, the term tokens means any resource tokens and weapons. Determination. The lead player rolls the dice to determine if shipment will take place during this cycle. 1 to 4 yes, 5 no, 6 vote. If there is no shipment, play passes to phase 5 attack. The lead player ships first, and then the player to the left, etc. Rules of shipment. Normally you make one of the following shipments by foot. You may move any number of tokens across a line or a river to an adjacent territory which you occupy. By horseback, you may move a horse from one territory you occupy to an adjacent territory you occupy, and then again to another of your territories adjacent to the second, so effectively moving twice. During this move, you may pick up and drop off any number of tokens anywhere along the route. By horse chain, you may move any number of tokens along a chain of territories, picking up and dropping off tokens as you wish, as long as each territory is occupied by you and has one of your horses in it. And B, each territory is adjacent to the previous one. By boat, you may move a boat back and forth along a river past up to 8 borderlands, counting on both sides of the river, picking up and dropping off your tokens as you wish in any of the territories which you occupy, or you may simply move your boat without shipping any extra tokens. B, you may not, however, move a boat between territories on the map where it is forbidden by superior force. Number of shipments. Normally each player may make one shipment, that is, you may make one of the 4 types of shipments as listed above, either by foot or by horse, horse chain, or by riverboat. Extra shipment. At the beginning of the shipment phase, for each 3 territories you have more than the number of territories the lead player started with, you have earned the extra shipment move of any type listed above. For example, in a 4-player game, the lead player starts with 9 territories. If so, if you manage to get 12 territories, you would earn extra shipment. If you have 15, you'd earn 2 extra, etc. Limitations. If at the end of the shipment you have 2 horses or 2 weapons in one territory, one must be removed from the map. You may only have 1 horse and 1 weapon in any territory. After all players have made all the shipments that they are allowed, play passes to phase 5. Phase 5 attack. You may successfully attack another player's territory if you occupy a territory adjacent to it, across line or river or reachable by riverboat, and can command a greater point value bearing on the attack territory than the occupying player can command. Once point values are totaled, if you have more points than the defending player has bearing on the territory, you replace that player's warrior with one of your own from off the map. The defending player's warrior is removed from the map. Determination. The attack phase always takes place, no die is rolled. The lead player, that's interesting that there's no randomization there. The lead player has first opportunity to attack, then the player to the left, etc. Limitations. You are allowed 1 attack. If you are successful, you are allowed either 1 more attack or 1 shipment as defined in the shipment phase. After you've completed your attacks or shipments, play passes to the player on your left. If you cannot or do not choose to attack, play passes to your left. Note, during the first cycle, players may not opt for the second attack. They may make a shipment after a successful attack. Point values in a territory. The points in territory are always showing in the rectangle in the territory or just below it for a city. Every territory always has at least 1 point in it for the player as a warrior. The maximum number of points in that territory you can have is 8, 1 for the warrior, 1 for the horse, 3 for a weapon, and 3 for a city. Point values bearing on territory. To decide how many points bear on a particular territory, the following point values must be totaled. Offense. All the points which you bring into the territory using the rules of shipment, which apply to making an attack. All points in adjacent territories and or adjacent boats which are controlled by you or your allies. 1 additional point for the warrior which you bring in from off the map from your reserves to occupy the new territory. Defense. All the points showing in the territory. 2. All the points in adjacent territories and or adjacent boats which are controlled by you or your allies. Now, in other words, when all the above cases are totaled for their appropriate side, attacking or defending, the side with a higher total wins the battle. Point values: Warrior 1, Horse 1, Riverboat 2, Weapon 3, City 3. Attacking: to make a successful attack, you must command a greater point value bearing on the territory than the defensive player who controls the territory you are attacking can command. When you do so, you simply move that player's warrior from the territory and replace it with your warrior from off the map. In attacking, you may move a horse, weapon, or both into the attack territory. If you can do so in one shipment move as described above. Under the shipment phase, either by foot, horse, or boat. Note: you are not making a shipment, but rather using the same guidelines for moving weapons, horses, and boats for your attack. Except, of course, you do not yet occupy the territory you're moving into. You may not move non-point bearing tokens, gold, coal, iron, timber, in attack. You may not make more than one such move on your attack. For example, a simplest attack would be to replace your opponent's warrior with your own from off the map, given that you had more points bearing in the defending territory than the defending player. A complex move would be to move a horse and weapon from two territories away to an adjacent territory that you control in the defending territory, thus giving you 4 extra points bearing on the defending territory. Another move might be to bring a riverboat from point upriver down to a point adjacent to the defending territory, thus tipping the balance in your favor. You may not, however, bring a horse inland from one territory and then bring the riverboat down as well, as you would then be making 2 moves. After negotiations with any other parties occupying adjacent territories or boats, if you have the point advantage, you may make your attack move, win the attack, and replace the defending player's warrior with your own from off the map. If, after analyzing the situation, you don't have more points than the defensive player, you may look elsewhere for an attack. If you do not attack, play passes to the left. Defending: then all of your points, both in the territory and adjacent territory, count towards your defense. In addition, if any player commits to your defense, all the points in adjacent territories or boats count towards your defense. If the total of your points equal to that of the attacking player, no attack can be made. The attacking player must look elsewhere. Note: you may not move any tokens in defending your territory. Alliances: if you occupy territories or boats adjacent to an attack territory, you may choose, invited or not, to lend your points to the attacker or the defender, or may remain neutral. You may not move any tokens to help in an alliance. To ally, simply state that you are committing your forces on behalf of one player or the other. The alliance is for the current attack only. And then there's an example shown there. Taking over an attack territory: when you win an attack, you move the defending player's warrior, place it with your own from off the map. All other tokens in the territory are now yours, including a weapon, city, horse, or other resource tokens. When all players have had an opportunity to make their attack moves, the cycle is over. The player to the left, the lead player, becomes a new lead player, and the new cycle begins with the development phase. Other important rules: cities, production. Your territory, which has both a city and a resource production site, will produce either 2 coal, 2 iron, 2 gold, or 2 timber, depending on the site type. It will not, however, produce 2 horses. Also, any of your territories which are adjacent to your territory with a city, will produce 2 of each of the appropriate resource tokens, again with the exception of horses. If 2 such resource tokens are already in territory, none are produced. If only one is in territory, 1 more is produced. 2 cities adjacent to a resource site, then compounding the effect, you only get 2 resource tokens. Attack logistics shipment: for each city you hold, you're entitled to a shipment before you make your first attack in each cycle. This shipment takes place during the attack phase. It's not part of the shipment phase, although it is made under the rules of shipment. Note: you may make logistic shipments only if followed by an attack. Boats: river boats as territories. Boats are always considered territories for the purpose of adjacency, attack, and counting how many territories you occupy. But you may not build a city on a boat. You always put your warrior token on the boat as soon as it is built. Boats must always be between just two territories on opposite sides of the river or bearing on one territory from a lake. The boat is treated like an island territory located between two territories on the opposite sides of the river. The boat is adjacent to both and bearing on both, but this does not prevent the two territories from being adjacent to each other as well. Several boats may line up in single file between the same two territories, each being adjacent to those two territories and to the boat immediately upriver, to the boat immediately downriver from itself. Boats may lie beside each other only while passing. If stopped by the boat passage rule, the passing boat falls behind the boat you tried to pass. Boat passage rule. A boat may pass between any two territories in the river as long as it can surpass the point values in these two territories. Whenever the players controlling the two territories forbid passage, if the total points on the territories are greater than or equal to those in the boat, including the boat, the warrior, possibly a weapon, and possibly a horse, the boat may not continue navigating the river, but must stop when it comes between these two territories. If the two territories are occupied by different players, and you can secure ascent from one, you may total your boat points plus the ascending player's territory points, and compare this total to the forbidding player's total to determine if you may pass. If a second territory remains neutral, the test is simply the boat's points against the forbidding territory's points. You may ask for passage before attempting your boat move, whether shipping or attacking. If you are refused, you may attempt another move instead. Horses. There are a number of points concerning the horse tokens, which may be covered in the rules. Below is a summary. Production. Horses received during production are placed in the rectangle, not on the resource production site. If there is already a horse in the producing territory, you may place horse in adjacent territory which you occupy, which does not contain a horse, or you may place the horse in another territory which is connected by the producing territory by territories which you occupy and which each contain a horse. Thus you begin to build horse chains. Adjacency to your city does not allow you to receive two horses. Shipment. You may use horses to ship in two ways, either by moving your horse up to two territories, picking up and dropping off tokens on the route, or shipping tokens along a chain of horses. That is a group of territories. Your territory is connected one to another by adjacency and each containing a horse. You may move your tokens along this horse chain, picking up and dropping off tokens as you wish. Attacks. When attacking, you may move a horse into an adjacent territory from two territories away, as long as you occupy the territory you are passing through and your horse ends up in the attacked territory. You may carry a weapon with you. You may not attack by horse chain since the chain does not end in a territory occupied by your horse. Prohibitions. If at the end of any move you have two horses in a territory, you must remove one of them from the map. Token quantities. If you have all your warrior tokens in use and need more, you may use a second set or other indicators. All other tokens, however, cannot be supplemented. In case of a conflict, the lead player always receives tokens first and then to the left. Weapons restrictions. You may only have one weapon in a territory at the end of your move. If you have more than one weapon in territory, you must move it to the map. Adjacency Lakes. Lakes at the source of both branches of the river are not considered part of the river for purposes of adjacency. Territories across from the lake from each other, not adjacent to each other. A boat located in a lake must always be adjacent to one and only one territory of the shore. Territory may not forbid a boat on the lake to pass by it or stop adjacent to it. Adjacency. Any territories sharing a common border along a line or portion of a river are adjacent to land territories which both border a lake but have no common border which meet only at a point, or which have no common borders at all, are not adjacent. A boat is adjacent to two territories on either side of the river. And there's some strategy hints. I won't go into that. Like ideas for locating your warriors, trading, shipping, attacking, developing. general discussions about diplomacy. Then here, the two-player game. The two-player game is excellent, while trade and diplomacy are of course minimal. Head struggle maximizes other just like aspects at play. Doing setup here. So I'll be doing 3 players, and the first thing you do is you turn the resource tokens upside down and randomize them, and then the players would take turns placing them. So I'll just place them kind of randomly. So all the resource tokens are placed. Then I'll flip them over, see what they are. Then flipping the remaining ones over, see what they are. Then we roll, see who goes first and do the warrior token placement. I'll be, so there will be red, green, and yellow. That's going. Here's for red. 6. Green. Red goes first. And the warrior tokens go to the left of the kind of placement box there. You want to kind of be in the middle here, and he wants to get horses, so he'll go here first. And green. Yeah, he's going to focus on horses too. Yellow. Also horses. Red. Gold is key to a lot of things, so he's going to make sure he has some gold. Go here. Green's going to go for timber. Yellow will go for gold. Red has horses and gold, so he wants to get some timber now. He's kind of the southern side, so he'll kind of stick here. Yeah, green's kind of a northern side. You want some. So green has horses and timber. He's standing up on the north side here, so he'll go for some gold. Yellow has got gold and horses, so they need timber, and they're kind of on the eastern side here. They might want to start spreading out though. Red, make sure you get some coal. Green, go for some iron. Yellow, go for some coal. Red. So he's got timber, gold, coal, and horses. Needs some iron. See where there's some around here. He'll go right over here. Not sure if it's wise to keep all grouped up or if it should spread out, but they're kind of grouping in their different geographies. Green has iron, horses, gold. Need some coal. And they have timber as well, so they need some coal. Over here. Yellow has timber, coal, gold, horses, need some iron. They're kind of got on two different sides here. I think red is one of each. Go ahead and get this timber. See if there's any other resources now. Looks like all the resources are taken up, so he'll just start grouping his territories. Yellow. He wants to build up some forces here. Red. Green. Yellow's kind of half and half. East and west. Red. Starting to run out of territories. So green kind of has got that central area. See what's remaining here. Let's see, red, green, so over here, yellow, got a territory here. Looks like all territories are spoken for now, so these will just be reserve units. Yellow was the last one to play, so they'll be the first lead player. Again, the first turn here. First turn, nobody's got resources, so there's no development phase. Then we go to the production. Yellow, who's the lead player, will roll the dice. 1. Since he rolled between a 1 and 4, there is production. Then each production site makes 1 resource. Yellow will go first. They'll start with their horses. Horses are placed to the right of the warrior. Red. He might as well get his horse too. Green. Might Just gonna have them go in sequence here. Gold, iron, lumber, and lastly, coal. Actually, that's coal there, not iron. Their iron is over here. So that's the resources. That was the production phase. We'll see if trade happens this turn. It does happen, but nobody's going to be doing any trading this turn. They just all want to build up their stuff. Then shipment phase. Roll to see if shipment occurs. No, that 5 means no shipment occurs. And then the attack phase. I think this first turn everybody's just going to sit tight, not do any attacking. Then we'll move into turn 2. And now red will be the lead. I'll just keep these here to keep track of the relative flow of who goes when. So yellow in first, and now so red will be the leader this time. Development phase. So for development, you need combinations of different tokens, and none of them have multiple tokens in any territory. So there's no development by anybody. Then we'll see if production happens. 3. It's between 1 and 4, so production does happen. Then they each get their resources. So one of the benefits of trade and shipment is you get resources off your producing sites, because otherwise they're blocked. You can only have, without cities, you can only have one resource there. So all the resources are blocked except for horses. With horses you can build a horse chain, so you can move them off there and then put a new one in the breeding ground. So they'll each do that. So they move the horse to an adjacent territory that they own. Now we'll see if trade happens. It does. So as far as they can use trade for to improve diplomatic relations, for instance, to build allies. And red, he's yellow kind of separates him from his forces in a couple spots here, so he wants to ally with green. What red wants to do is to get a weapon, and he's got iron here, but he also needs coal up here for that. These sites. And you can trade with somebody if you have at least one common border with them. And it doesn't indicate that it has to be a traceable path, but as long as they have a common border. So assume that's the case. And he's got ample timber. He's got an extra timber site. He'll trade so he wants coal. He'll trade develop favorable relationships with green. He'll offer to give him 2 timber for 1 coal, so he'll do that. Give him 2 timber. And gets 1 coal in return. And also to get resources cleared off a site, that's good to trade as well. That's probably all red will do. And green wants to do some trading with red as well. He kind of like to build up some more gold, so he'll be willing to trade iron for gold. Then yellow is kind of nervous about red and green trade, so he wants to get involved there and see if he can get along. He wants to trade with red. Offer to trade a gold for a coal, but red doesn't want to do that because he wants to build weapons with that, so he'll pass on that. Then yellow will try to trade with green. Offer to trade a gold for timber because he wants to try to build a riverboat. They'll do that. So the trade. Then we'll see if shipment occurs. From 1 to 4, so shipment does occur. So they want to focus on getting resources off the production site so that they not block there again. Red, first he'll scan for that. He's okay here, he doesn't have any gold here. He's got coal here he wants to move. So he'll move that by foot to here. He moved the iron and coal by foot to... Actually, he'll go by horse. You can go 2 spots. He'll transport both of these on the horse. So he goes 1, 2, and he's carrying these, and he'll drop these off in this territory. Over here he's got a horse, it's okay. It's okay down here. So right there, I think that'll be it for red moving, I think. For red shipping, then green. He's got a gold there, he's okay. Gotta move that gold off there. And even though they're separated by river, territories are adjacent if they're on, opposing sides of the river. So he wants to get his gold off here, so he'll move it to this territory, which is adjacent. Move that gold there. What else? He's going to be using these to make a riverboat, so he'll be moving this here. Check over here, he's got horses. It's getting kind of blocked in there. So he's going to want to expand if he can. But he can't. He's kind of surrounded by yellow, so he can't do anything right now. Yellow, let's move that coal off there. He'll move it over. He'll just switch these around. He doesn't want to put anything here. He thinks this area is here. It's kind of vulnerable because of red. What else? He's got horses here. Getting kind of surrounded there too. He'll move this one down here so he can build up that horse chain. And actually green too. He'll move this horse over too so he can build up that horse chain. What else for yellow? He's got a iron there. He's got to move that off. It's kind of here. It's okay there. So that's all the shipment. Attacking. Nobody's going to do any attacking right now. They're just kind of building up their resources. Development. He'll turn in, so he can turn in 2 gold for a weapon. He'll do that. And for the first time you build a riverboat, it only takes 2 timber, and he's got 2 here, so he'll get a riverboat. Then yellow. They didn't really have any stuff that they can combine and develop yet. Don't have resources to combine to develop yet. Red. He'll turn this iron and coal into a weapon. What else can he do? That's all he's going to do. And then production. On 6 they can vote if they want production or not. And definitely red and green want to produce, and yellow's feeling a little bit defensive as well. So they'll vote no because they don't want red and green expanding. But 2 out of 3, so there will be production. Doing green. Gets a gold because it's not blocked off there now. He doesn't have any other gold in that site. Coal, he can do a coal. He can do timber. He can do horses. And he can do iron. Then yellow can get horses. Now he's got horse chain at 3 there. Can get iron. Timber. Coal. So he's good. And then red gets a couple timbers. Coal. Iron. Horses. And he can build out his horse chain there. You move this one here. And again, these are adjacent territories because they're, even though they're bounded by a river, it's adjacent. And gold. Check for trade. Six, they can vote. Red wants to trade, but green and yellow don't want to, so there's no trade. Shipment. There's shipment. So let's see what's green going to do. Again, try to clear off resources and group them together to build things. It's got gold here. Move that across here. It's got to move that iron off there. With a horse chain, he'll move it over here. So he's got horses there. He's got to move that coal off. He'll move it over here so I can go on a riverboat eventually. He's got timber there, he's got to move the timber off. He'll move that down towards the riverboat as well. So it looks like he's he doesn't have any resources blocked now. And then yellow. He's gonna have trouble with his horses now because he can't build anymore because he's got a full horse chain here and he doesn't have any places he can go to with them, so he's kind of stuck there right now. Up here he's got to move that iron off here. He'll move that here. Over here he's okay over there. He can eventually build a riverboat there, so he'll this is adjacent, so he'll move up here so he can build a riverboat there. He's gonna move that coal off there. Gonna move that timber off there. We'll stick with that. And then red. Gonna move that timber off there. He'll look to get a riverboat too eventually, so I'll move it there. Gotta move the timber off there. It's kind of limited because he's kind of blocked in here too. He'll move that. Just gotta move the iron off here. He's gotta move this iron off, but he'll move it here so he can build a weapon here. He's gotta move this coal off. He'll move that up here. Actually, he'll move that down here. Then he'll move up here so we can eventually do a weapon too. Get the gold off this side here, move it down here. He's got horses here, he'll move this. He'll move this horse to over here. Then he should be good. And then attack. Yellow's the lead, so he gets to go first. He wants to get this resource from red down here. So he has a warrior and a horse here, and he's allowed a shipment. So he's going to bring this horse down here for 1 point. And then he also gets 1 point for a warrior you bring in from off the map from your reserves. It's got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. And the defender, all points showing the territory, so he's got 1. All points in adjacent territories or adjacent boats controlled by you or your allies. Yellow wins. They get to move here and he replaces that warrior. Gets that territory. Since yellow won there, they can do another attack or a shipment. And up here, he wants to get this territory as well if he can, because he wants to be able to join his forces across here, and there's also a resource there. He'll be attacking from here. He's got 1 warrior and 1 horse. He's allowed a shipment. He's already used these horses, so he can't ship these, I think. So this guy's got 2 there, but he gets 1 more. So he also gets the additional, 1 reserve unit he'd bring in for the attack. Plus, he gets the adjacent ones that are bearing on there as well. And I'm assuming that means adjacent to this territory that's being attacked, not necessarily adjacent to this territory here. So that'd count these 2 up here. He's got 2 more, plus 2 plus 1, so he's got 5 total. Versus on the defending, you have the territory and then the adjacent, so he wins that battle. And the reason he got that extra attack after this first one is that since he won this attack, he gets to do this second attack. That's handy. He gets that resource. Then we'll see what Red's going to do. So Red's looking up here as well. He's got, this guy's kind of isolated here, but he did a favorable trade with green, and he's going to ask green to be his ally. When he attacks here, he's got one reserve unit he can bring in, so that would be 2 total here. He doesn't have any other adjacent ones, so right now it's 2 versus 2 because there's 2 adjacent ones in the defending. But since he's going to bring the ally in, actually the defender has 3. He's got 1 here, and these are both adjoining, so he's got a total of 3. So right now it's the 2 attacking versus the 3. Since he did the favorable trade with green, he's going to ask green to be his ally here. And green has 3 that are bearing down in this territory. He'll just ask for 2 of them, so he'll stay out of it right now. But with these 2 engaging in that attack, now he's got 4 versus 3, so he wins. Gets that territory. And then he can attack again or do a shipment. For shipment, he's just gonna maybe shift a resource. He'll shift this weapon down to here. That's all he'll do for a shipment. Green's pretty sure he can count on Red as an ally, but let's see what he wants to do here. He'd like to get rid of this yellow right here in between. He's got 1, 2. Actually, this horse should be over here. He's got, looking at what he's got here, the defender has 1, and then he also has 1 adjacent territory, since you can count adjacent as being across the river here. So he's got 2 for the defender versus 1, 2, 3 for the horse, 4, 5, and then he gets 1 more reserve for coming in there. So he's got plenty to overtake that without having to ask for an ally. He'll get that territory. He won that, so he can go again. He'll go against this yellow territory. And he could bring his riverboat up here if he wanted, but it doesn't look like he'll need that. Here it's 2 for the defender, so 1 here and 1 in adjacent. And he has 1, 2, and the reserve unit of 3. These have already gone to battle, so he's not going to use them again. But he's got enough just with that. Takes over the territory. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the play. That's Borderlands from Eon Products in 1982. I enjoyed it, but it's quite a bit different than I expected. I didn't really quite know what to get into, but from the cover it kind of seemed like it'd be more of a war game. But it turned out to be, definitely I can see like how it's similar to Catan in some ways, and there's a lot of good qualities about Catan, and this is like, predates Catan by a couple decades, which is pretty impressive. But it has some war game elements as well, except it's deterministic. It's not random as far as that. It's random as far as resource gathering and what you can do in a turn. But the battle itself is whoever has the most points wins. But that being said, there's a lot going for it. It's kind of very strategic in how you choose your resources and placements. And there's a diplomatic element as well, which I'm sure when you get to multiplayer that comes quite interesting. Making and breaking alliances and doing trades. And the components are fine for the time. I wish the map was a little bit more colorful, but it's functional. And I like that, it's got a key on there that says what products you can develop. I enjoyed it. It's probably not, my primary kind of thing I like to do, but it was enjoyable for play, and glad I have it. It's kind of hard to find out there. Seems like it was a little bit ahead of its time, and it's got a lot of good qualities. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Borderlands from Eon Products, 1982. Thanks a lot.